What's up guys, I'm J-Dubb, and today we're going to talk about radios, because I have recently gotten a lot of questions about comms and how I would use them, what I use them for, what radios I'm using, how I'm using it, everything about that. So I figured I'd kind of break it down to you, show you my little setup here, and it has worked incredibly well to keep my wife in contact with me when I have my kids out camping, when we're doing our fishing videos. If you pay attention to my videos, you'll see normally this radio kind of floating around in there somewhere. It's either on my hip, sitting on my truck, sometimes it's sitting in the tent. And I've been able to keep in contact with my wife in places that our cell phones do not work. We live in the mountains of Virginia where line of sight really isn't much of a thing. We rely on repeaters and everything else, so we had to switch to something. We have a pretty reliable ham radio setup in our area with a few repeaters, works decently well. But my wife didn't want to go get her ham license, so we moved to GMRS so I could get the license and she could use it under my license, and that has worked great. The issue with GMRS is there was no repeaters in my area. So me being the nice guy, I have put up a small repeater in our area, which has done awesome to give me coverage over the area in which that we camp and fish and do everything we need to do. Now there is a mountain right directly behind my house. There's no coverage on that end of the county. I couldn't get it up there. I've talked to a few people at our local ham clubs, and I've tried to see if I can get a repeater. I want to put a 50-watt repeater on top of the mountain where they're at. Still working out logistics on that, but you're not here for that. So in this video, I'm going to show you the repeater setup that I've got. This is a brand new repeater. I just bought this one. I'm using this actually at my father's house. So right now, as you can tell, the repeater's not in service. So this is the Midland MXR10. This is their new repeater setup. It's been decently well. I believe it's a 10-watt repeater, has a duplexer in there, so it only puts out 5 watts. If you want technical specs on that, I'll link Midland's site down below where you can pick this up. This is not a paid product replacement. I have seen 2 reviews on YouTube of this thing. Both of them, you can tell, are completely paid for. They were free. This was not. I bought this. I bought it with my own money. They have not talked to me about this. I have a feeling I'm going to send this to Midland because I did have an issue with this, and we're still waiting to see if they're going to do anything about it. So, get a quick look at it real quick. It is very well built. Nice metal. I don't believe this is an O-light. Yeah. The serial port's magnetic, of course, but not magnetic. So definitely aluminum, which is kind of nice because if you're going to be using it a lot, I haven't gotten it hot yet. There is another guy in the area that uses this repeater when I have it set up. I told him today that the repeater is going to be down. I'm making a video on it. And he uses it quite regularly, and we haven't noticed it been getting hot. Now this thing literally hangs on a hook at my father's house because his house is kind of in between a mountain and me. So I can't get coverage to where I camp. But if I send the repeater to my dad's house, he is around that mountain enough, he can get coverage to where we camp. So this actually stays at my dad's house, and the antenna is up in a tree with a ground rod running down the tree. So worst case scenario, if you get struck by lightning, hopefully the tree goes up. Now, we get this, I'm going to kind of flip it over here. I'll lay it on its back. I'll show you some things on it. So, and we'll go from there. Now, I don't have my overhead set up really good. So here's the Midland repeater. There's not a lot to it. You've got a serial port on the side, your plug-in port, which is also your programming port, and then your antenna plug. That is it. There's only 2 buttons. You have your up and down button, which moves you up and down on your channels. I believe there's 16 channels, and then if you hold both buttons together, it'll show you your TC TSS codes. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you how I use mine. Mine runs off this Jackery 300, or yeah, Jackery Explorer 300. It's done great. I've been using the 12-volt power outlet just because it doesn't cut the inverter on. Actually, not just because. I use the 12-volt power outlet on it because I can't use the converter anymore because I'm not really sure where it is right now, but the AC plug that came with it doesn't work. You can plug it in, wiggle it, and it'll cut on, but if you look at it wrong, it loses power. So I'm gonna show you how easy this thing is to set up power. So you're gonna come into it. Hopefully y'all be able to see. you got your port. It'll only plug in one way. So I turn it, plug it in, and then I screw it in. And all that's doing is keeping it from coming unplugged, which is really convenient. Now we're plugged up, 12 volt power. All right, so we've got our jacker here. We've got our unit. Literally plug it in. As you can tell, we have no power to it yet. When I cut the DC converter on, you saw that light come on. Right now, with nothing coming into it, we're pulling 1 watt. This unit will last a long time. So far, I've had this for about 2 weeks, and we've just been letting it run. Like I said, there's me and another guy talk on it. The family uses it all the time. We've tried to overheat it. My dad uses it. We all kind of bounce back and forth on it. And we've talked on it for a couple hours there at one point and could not overheat it. So I have a feeling the reason that we're not getting overheating issues is because of that aluminum frame, which acts as a giant heat sink. This thing has performed excellent. I've had 0 issues with it, other than the power port. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to use the power port. I did contact Midland, still waiting on a reply from them. I contacted them, I think 2 days ago. Still haven't heard anything back from them about some kind of warranty, but I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm sure they'll just send us a new one out. This port, I may just keep using it and may just keep using the jackery, and every once in a while, just plug the jackery in. I'm hoping 300 hours of runtime. When you key it up, it is using about two to 3. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3 watts, just depends. But it does use a little bit more power when it's transmitting, which is to be expected. But so far, incredibly happy with this unit. I'll put down in the description below what Midland finally does, if they send us a new piece, if they did anything. So we'll see, but so far, highly recommend it. I'm getting about 5 miles. Let me kind of draw you a map and show you the terrain we're working with. All right, so like I said before, I have a big mountain range right here behind my house. My house is going to be here, and then I have a river, and then over here would be my father's house. This distance is about 2 miles, straight line of sight. Where we camp is actually down here. The issue you run into is there is a big set of mountains right here. I can't talk to where we camp from my house. So we put a repeater up. So now I talk from here, I hit that repeater, and that repeater pops me around the mountain. So we don't really go over the mountain, we kind of go around them. Our local state police, our local fire departments, all of them have repeaters kind of set up running along the interstates, showing that for our area, that's kind of how we do the repeater systems. We don't really go over mountains because all of our mountains are so tall and there's so many deep valleys that you lose coverage really bad. We kind of use repeaters to go around the mountain. There's kind of a gap here. This kind of comes down into a valley. So this allows us to look out. Now I do have a lot of trees right here, all down through here. There's some trees over here. And then my dad kind of lives in a subdivision that has some other houses. But like I said, this works great. I have perfect sight. From here to here, like I said, is about 2 miles. From here to here though is almost 5 miles from where we're at. And there's actually a few small hills and mountains and a ton of trees and tons of, it's a lot of farmland through there, but it's a lot of hilly farmland. All right, so with that being said, guys, it is an awesome repeater. I do like it. Like I said, I'll put down in the description below what Midland finally does with the warranty side of it. I just wanted to get a quick video out there because I haven't seen anybody really talking about this other than the 2 paid reviews that I did see. So I wanted to get it out there, show you what I thought about it, give you a real world of how it's working, because the 2 reviews I saw, one guy said 30 miles and the other guy said he was getting like 10 miles with it. They all seem to live in really flat areas because I don't get that. About 5 miles is about all you're getting in my area. But like I said, live in the mountains of Virginia. All right, guys, with that being said, I appreciate y'all watching. Go ahead, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. And like always, take someone outdoors.